Well, the wait was over. Footy is officially back with the completion of opening round over the weekend, and what a start we had. We had some upset victories. We had some dominant displays with all the teams coming together for round one this week. But before we get into that, let's review the start to the opening round. How good is it? Footy is back. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Up the Guts podcast. Joining you as always is your host, Trent Yolton, or more commonly known as Tricky. And yes, opening round is officially over, and what a start we had. We saw some upset victories. We saw some games of two halves being played, but it's just good to have real footy back. I mentioned we already had the preseason games, but that doesn't really mean anything. Now it does. I'd like to know your guys' thoughts. If I just have a look at how I'm looking in the camera angle, very good. I'd like to know your thoughts on opening round. I don't know if I'm a big fan of it, that how every team doesn't play. The reason I just like to think the first round, you waited all this, you want to see your team play, and we only see half the competition. And what the biggest problem is with it, you're going to have teams have a bye in round two already. That is just absurd when we've waited, 6 months for footy to be back, and your team could possibly play 2 games and then have a bye. Like, what is going on there? But we are here to review all of the action from the opening round. So let's kickstart it with our Thursday night match between Sydney and Carlton, the grudge match, the return of Charlie Curnow against his old side, and Will Hayward and Ollie Foran. Let's get into it. Thursday night, the SCG packed out to see the star forward Curnow come up against his old Blues. And this was definitely a game of two halves, with Carlton on top in the first half, destroying them around the contest, and then Sydney coming out and kicking 12 goals in the third quarter. Absolutely seen the floodgates opened up, and they just showed when they move the ball slick and move the ball quick, they can be one of the more damaging teams in the AFL, and why they are a big watch in 2026. Not just because they've got Charlie Curnow. I just think it was a down year last year with they had the injuries. Errol Goulden's going to be a really good asset to it, and Justin McInerney was huge as well. But for the game itself, it was in the end, the Swans smashed them really after a disappointing first half from the Swans by 63 points, 20-12, 132 to 10-9, 69. Curnow in his first game against his old guy kicked 3, as did McInerney and Amadi kicking 3 each. Now, Amadi's going to love not having to be that number one forward down there. You could argue he wasn't the number one forward when Logan McDonald was playing anyway, but with Logan McDonald being injured for most of 2025, and Amadi had his injury problems as well, but when Amadi was playing, he was having to play as that number one key forward, and that's just not what Amadi is. Now, he can probably cash in by getting the second or third best tall defender down there. Roberts kicked 2 off a wing / halfback. Heaney also kicked 2. If we move over to the Blues and the multiple goal kickers, Petracca grabbed a couple out of the ruck and looked like he was the only one trying to keep the Blues in the game. He kicked 3. Ainsworth in his first game for his new club also kicked 2. We mentioned McInerney kicking 3, but he also had 31 disposals, going to 84% efficiency, 2 direct goal assists, and 14 score involvements. He was just everywhere, especially in that third quarter when the Swans came in and just absolutely dominated the Blues. I believe he kicked all his 3, or at least 2 of them, in that third quarter. And we saw last year he was starting to play a bit more inside, and we're starting to see that a bit more too. And I think he'll really benefit with this new centre bounce rule, because he's that burst player who has that speed and can really burst away and uses the ball well. And we're going to see a lot more centre bounce goals, or a lot more turnover footy goals. And if you can't catch the team on the slingshot, you're going to be stuffed. And McInerney is that type of player who can really get the ball moving. So he had 31, as I mentioned. Goulden, 27. Well, I was super impressed with Goulden after a very, very disappointing first half. He came out in that third quarter and had 10 touches in just a matter of 5 to 10 minutes. But what we was really impressed with was his tackling pressure. He laid 11 tackles, Errol Goulden, playing that more centre bounce midfielder rather than being out in a wing. 5 clearances, 8 inside 50s, 3 goal assists, and 10 score onwards. And Callum Mills also had 25 at halfback. Walsh looks like he's come back in some really good nick. I hope that he can keep his body right, because he is exactly what the Blues needed there. And he looks like he's put on some real good size as well. 32 disposals, 6 clearances, 9 inside 50s, 8 score involvements, and 696 metre gain. Jagger Smith did what Jagger Smith showed us in the preseason, what we hoped to get, 27. And I was also really impressed with Cooper Lord, who also had 26. But it's the same old story with the Carlton in 2025. Once the team gets on top of they don't only show up for a half a footy, and when the contest slightly gets out of the favour, you can pile on quick goals on them. We saw Sam Doherty in. I'm not going to touch on too much about the Dan Gorringe from the Dan Doss footy and Sam Doherty, but Sam Doherty was absolutely right. Once the clubs can, other sides can match them in the contest. And get some transition footy going from the contest. The Blues look like they're stuffed. They have no leg speed through that midfield, and that's what they're lacking. Walsh would be good, but I would argue Walsh is more of a power runner rather than a leg speed runner. And I just don't know who that player is for the Blues. Let me know in the comments if I'm missing someone or if I'm wrong about Walsh and you think he's that runner. But I think he's that more power athlete where they're lacking that one with leg speed, like Chad Warner, like Errol Goulden from the Swans, those type of players, like Justin McInerney when he's in there. They just don't seem to have that player, which is a real downfall because they've got the real good bigger bodies in there. George Hewitt, Paddy Cripps, Sam Walsh can play inside, outside. Jagger Smith, I don't think he's quick, but he's silky. So that's the one area that they are missing down there. And who's going to be kicking their goals? Pittineer had to pop up for 3 while playing ruck. Harry Mackay just doesn't look like he's the same Harry Mackay from his Coleman year a couple of years ago. And without Curnow there, he has to be the man, and he just wasn't able to step up, only kicking the 1 goal. So a disappointing start for the Blues, but if that second half Swans can show up every game, or at least most games for the full game, they're going to be a dangerous team in 2026. Friday night at People First Stadium, and Gold Coast Suns just flexed their muscles. Now, I was out for a mate's birthday for this, but we caught a fair bit of it. I've gone back and watched the mini as well, but we caught a fair bit of it when we were at the pub watching it back and forth, and we couldn't believe we turned away because we went out for a birthday. We were doing lawn bowls and then a bottomless. We turned away for a little bit, like to engage and socialise, and we look back and we go, Suns kicked another 4. Like, they were just piling on goals left, right, and centre. I believe they got the margin out to, it might have even been 80 points at one point, but 56 points the margin it was in the end. 19-11, 125, defeating the Cats 10-9, 69, but 56 points. Bailey Humphrey looks like he's ready to explode. We saw it in glimpses last season, but geez, he looked unstoppable in that forward line at points. Kicked 3 goals in the first quarter, finishing with 4 for the game. Ben King is that ultimate guy who doesn't get his hand, when I say he doesn't get hands on the ball, doesn't gather many disposals, but when he gets his disposals, he makes them turn into goals and makes them count. Because if we pull it up, I believe he only had, I want to say he had 5 or 6 disposals, but kicked the 4 as well. So he's not a high disposal getter, but whenever he gets it, he marks his balls inside 50s and then converts every time. Ben King, 4 disposals. 4 goals from 5 disposals. So he just makes, whenever it comes in his area, he's holding on to marks and he's converting with them in front of goal. Christian Petracca. Now, Christian Petracca showed why he is still one of the best players in the competition. It was a reality check to some people who thought when last year that he was down, and I know everyone was still on saying he was a great addition to Gold Coast Suns. He's going to flourish, but I don't think they thought he could get back to this level. That was absolutely a phenomenal performance. 34 disposals at 82% disposal efficiency. Kicked the 3 goals, 6 clearances, 10 inside 50s, 12 score involvements, and 678 metres gain. He gets the 3 votes without a doubt. And could this be the year where we see a Petracca Brownlow medal finally under his belt? I believe if he puts performances like this, he'll be straight back in the All-Australian team, because this was the Petracca that we knew 2 to 3 years ago in Melbourne before the injury that he suffered against Collingwood that was nearly cost him his life in the end. But I don't think anyone thought he was going to have an impact like this straight from the get-go for the Gold Coast Suns. It was an absolute smacking from him. They smacked the Geelong midfield. I get it. They didn't have Dangerfield, but Dangerfield only plays there through bursts now. The Gold Coast Suns were all over them through the midfield. Lombard kicked 2, and he looks really good in just his second season. Leo Lombard, he was my lookout for player coming into it, so he looks really good. Long kick 2, and Noble also pushed forward off that half-back line to kick 2. Dempsey for the Cats kicked 4 late goals. Ollie Henry also kicked the 2. I'm really disappointed in Shannon Neal. Without Jeremy Cameron, Shannon Neal had to be the man to stand up down there and just wasn't able to. Partially, maybe it was because the Gold Coast Suns dominated him that much that they just weren't able to get there. Let me just pull up. I want to see the inside 50 count if we have a look here. So disposals wasn't too much. So 71 to 50, so 21 more inside 50. That's a significant amount, but that's still enough for Shannon Neal to try and go on. He needed to kick at least 3 for them to be any sort of chance in that. And that might come down to how they were delivering it down there. Who knows? But one of their standout performances, though, was the re-emergence of Tanner Bruin after his year off with personal and legal problems. Made his move to halfback. He had 31 disposals and 600 metres gain. He was their bright light down there. As Max Holmes also trialled hard with 29 and 9 clearances. As for the Suns, as I mentioned, dominated through the midfield. Took Miller 36 tackles and a goal. And let's add that is without 2025 Brownlow medalist Matt Rao in yet still to come back. Noble, 28 disposals off that half-back line, going at 82% efficiency, 2 goals and 570 metres gain. And Mac Andrew, after the meet, a lot of talk had come down on him, his undisciplined acts in 2025, and then again in the preseason game, just showed absolute poise. 26 disposals, 88% efficiency, and 7 intercepts, and showing he can play tall and small. When he puts it all together, he can be an absolute star. I know we have a soft spot for him because he was a former guest in the early parts of this show. But with a guy who stands over 200 centimetres tall, to be able to pick it up on the run one-handed and play with smalls and keep up with them, but also play tall, he's just an untapped talent. And when he puts it all together, I still think his best position is halfback. But there is no reason why he can't go through off a wing or through the ruck in bursts because he has that athletic traits. So that was a really impressive performance by Andrew. 26 disposals at 88% efficiency and 7 intercepts. The other performer for the Cats, Myers, 28 and 10 marks. Atkins, 26, 16 contested as he always does, 6 clearances and 6 tackles. One thing that was very notable with the Suns was how quick they look with ball in hand and their defensive pressure in the back half. But not only that, so they had the defensive pressure in the back half, but then they were quick to pounce on the turnover and play that slingshot footy to convert to goals. So that's going to be a real challenge, especially when sides come up against them at People First Stadium. I'm saying it now, I don't see them dropping a game at People First Stadium. That is my early prediction, because if they're going to be playing like that and they're doing this to the 2025 runners-up, they won't. I can't see them losing to anyone at home. They are just too strong. And Darwin already penciled that one in. They don't lose in Darwin. So Darwin and home games, Gold Coast Suns will not drop. So that means we've already got probably that 6th spot locked in. They're on their way to a potential top 4 spot. They looked absolutely phenomenal. The 2 games on Saturday, we started off with the Giants and the Hawks at NG Stadium, a injury-riddled Giants, but they showed up and proved they can still get it done even with stars out of that lineup. No Tom Green, no Sam Taylor, no Brent Daniels, no Darcy Jones. The list goes on and on and on. And still, they were able to get over the Hawks by 27 points. 19-8, 122, defeated 14-11, 95. There is something different about Jake Stringer in a contract year. He goes absolutely beast mode, and he could have easily kicked 7 or 8, but did finish with 5 goals, 4, and absolutely tore to shreds the Hawthorn defense. No one could go with him. He looks powerful. He looks fit. And if he just converted those opportunities, but still 5 goals, 4, and I believe 19 disposals, looked absolutely different. I've said it before, and I'm sure other people have said it. Jake Stringer should be on one-year contracts for the rest of his career, and that should have been done about 3 or 4 years ago, because he's the type of player that needs needs to play hungry. He needs to be able to play for something, and playing for his contract that is not guaranteed at the end of the season brings out the best in Jake Stringer. He was absolutely dominant with his 5 goals. I was really impressed with Riccardi, who kicked 3 as well, not only in the forward line, but then goes up and plays that second ruck role, which will be a horrible role to play. But with his mobility, he can get around the ground really nicely and get his hands on the ball. 17 disposals as well to go along with his 3 goals. Jesse Hogan also kicked 3. I believe all 3 came in the first quarter, and they were able to keep him a little bit quiet there. Canelio was good also with 2 goals. 2 goals as well, kicking that. We moved down here. Grzeski also kicking the 2 for the Giants. It was good to see Phineas Goffard on debut, kicking a really, really important goal that just solidified. I know it was probably already over, but it just solidified that the game was over and the Orange Tsunami had outdone the Hawthorn Football Club in kicking his first goal in AFL footy. What a moment it was for Phoenix Goffard. As for the Hawks, Gunston, he does it again. He kicked 4 goals. And Nick Watson looked absolutely unbelievable, especially when he was around the ball. He provides, while the midfield is still a massive, massive question for the Hawthorn Football Club without Will Day. He provides that point of difference. When he was in that midfield, he would electric speed just around the ball. He's tackling pressure. I'm loving the move. I'd like to see him. They probably didn't do it enough. I would have liked to see him do more. But 2 goals and 17 disposals. He was one of their better players on the day. Just continued to run and apply pressure. And that first, especially that first goal he kicked there, he came from nowhere, read it like a book, and then had a little look around and snapped it around, was just an absolute phenomenal finish. Look out for Nick Watson 2026, especially playing a bit of centre-bounds midfield minutes. Chol also kicked 2. Ginnivan kicked 2. Now, Ginnivan's had please explain from the AFL, wearing an aura ring underneath his glove. Obviously, you're not allowed to wear jewellery while out in the AFL, so... but I don't think Ginnivan's too phased. He had it underneath his glove. Be interesting to see. I don't think he'll wear it again, but it wouldn't. At the same time, it wouldn't surprise me if he does. That's just the type of character he is. Butler also kicked 2. Disposals-wise, Whitfield off their half-back line just does what Whitfield does week in, week out. 27 disposals at 82% efficiency and 7 rebound 50s. Oliver in his first official game for the Giants was enormous in Tom Green's absence. 26 disposals, 19 contested, kicked a goal, had the 10 clearances and 7 score rumbles. Just that absolute ball in and under for the Giants. It's good to see him hit the scoreboard as well. Callahan just doing what Callahan has done for the past, his 2nd year running now. Just that powerful, explosive running through the middle of the ground. 26 disposals, 6 clearances, 9 inside 50s and 775 metres gained. Newcomb was the highest disposal getter, the new co-captain with 25 for the Hawks. And Sicily battled hard down back. 23 disposals at 96% efficiency. It's good to see him using the ball back. 14 intercepts, 7 inside 50s and 592 metres gained. But it was almost over before it even started, really, with the Giants kicking the first 5 goals in just 8 minutes. We're like, no Tom Green, no Darcy Jones. Not a problem for the Giants when they got off to that. We're like, oh, Jesus. But the Hawks came out and kicked a fair few goals themselves. And there was 87 points kicked in the first quarter combined alone. It was an absolute fast start from both teams. Obviously, the Giants getting the upper hand there. Other than that, I just think that what's going to let the Hawks down is that midfield. It's going to be a massive talking point. And if Gunston doesn't kick the goals, who is it going to be? I know it's early to go like that on Hawks, but there's just some holes in there. But they do have that X-factor type of players that when they're on, they are one of the most exciting and probably quickest and cleanest users going inside forward 50 and they can score quickly, like the next team that we're going to talk about. In the match of the round Saturday night, the massive talking point at Bulldogs have always been they smash the bottom end, but cannot match it up against the challengers. Well, they've gone, have this one, guys. We have just knocked off the 2024 and 2025 premiers on their home deck by 5 points. And what a game of footy both teams around. 15-16, 106, defeated by 16-15, 111. It was good to see Charlie Cameron back to some of his better form after I thought was a disappointing season in 2025 that I've mentioned. He kicked 4, Morris kicked 3, and Lohman kicked 2. Oscar Allen also kicked his first goal for the Brisbane Lions in interesting circumstances. They went up for a match review, score review, and then it never went over the line, tap backing, and then Oscar Allen got the goal. It was a real confusing one. And Zane Koleski also kicked his first goal. And I don't mind the way he goes about it in his debut. He can also go in the ruck with his athletic traits. Now, while Darcy and Norton weren't really shooting the lights out early in the game, Luke Beveridge thought, that's all right. Guess who we have in the middle of the ground who can be just as damaging as a forward? His name is Marcus Bontempelli. He pushed forward and had an impact, kicking 3 goals, which then allowed Darcy Norton to get off a little bit, kicking 2 apiece. Richards is an absolute talent. I was absolutely not overwhelmed. Not the right word. I was so pleased to see him get his All-Australian nod last year. He kicked 2, but he also had 30 disposals, 7 clearances, 10 inside 50s, 2 goal assists, 16 score involvements, and 726 metres gained. He's just the all-round player. He works hard both ways of the ground. Obviously started his career off that half-back line, but now plays through the middle, can work back hard and uses the ball well off that defense, bringing it out, but then pushes forward and impacts the score. But there's not often you don't see a game where Richards is at least kick one. He's quickly becoming their best midfielder now. And now with the emergence of Richards, it allows Bevo to play Bontempelli a bit more forward, especially when Norton and Darcy aren't doing as much damage. I don't think you need to play Bont forward if Norton or Darcy are just dominating. Just keep him around the ball because one of the best players in the comp, the Bont. So just keep him wherever. I think you can just play him wherever you need him. You need some damage down forward. There you go, Bontempelli down there. Darcy and Norton are up there. Don't worry, leave Bont in the middle. You know he's going to still have an impact on the game. But the emergence of Ed Richards is absolutely phenomenal. I think he's becoming one of the top 10 players in the competition very, very quickly. As for disposals, Neil for the Lions had 39, going 80% efficiency and 8 goals. Zorko battled hard off halfback. 31 at 84% efficiency, a goal, 11 marks, 8 score, Robinson, 597 metres game. And 2024 and 2025, non-Smith medalist Will Ashcroft also had 30 to go along with 7 clearances. We already mentioned Ed Richards. Another one who was impressive was Matt Kennedy, 30 disposals, 5 clearances, 6 tackles at 8 score moments. Liberatore had 28. Connor Butterick in his first game for the club coming across from the Suns looked sound off that half-back line. 27 disposals, 1 goal, and 9 score runs. It was like a half-back wing roll. He looks like he's going to be a good pickup for the Bulldogs. Bailey Williams also had 25, a goal, and 11 score runs, and kicked the goal of the night, dancing around all the opposition. It was an absolutely phenomenal goal. We were at my mate's house watching him. We got absolutely up and about, danced around one, danced around the other, kept the ball in. Oh, it was like the circus being out there, the way he was dancing around the opposition. They just couldn't lay a finger on him. But the Brisbane Lions were on top of this game, but the Bulldogs never surrendered and pulled out a remarkable victory, kicking 7 last quarter goals, while I think the Brisbane Lions kicked something like 2 goals, 5. And that was the difference in the game. They were going goal for goal towards the back end. And the difference in the game was when the opportunity arrived, the Bulldogs were able to convert and be accurate where the Brisbane Lions weren't. So they'll look back on that, the Lions, and go, geez, we've blown a chance here to start off 1-0. Now, Harris Andrews, they're going to be without their co-captain going into next week and the match after that. And the match after that, as he copped 3 weeks for his swinging forearm back on Artie Jones, which knocked him out cold and left a massive, massive shiner and swelling on his cheekbone. So he'll be out with 3 weeks. They're also about one of their more valuable front half players in Zach Bailey, who copped a week for a swinging elbow, just a stupid thing. And also, he's swinging elbow on debutant Michael Selwood. Then also Darcy Gardner for his late hit. I can't remember who the player it was on, but he got a week for that as well. Not only will they be without those 2 players, but they'll be without one of their most damaging all-round players, Hugh McCluggage, at least for next week, as he suffered a calf injury in just 20 minutes into the game. It's only a slight strain, so hopefully it's only a week off and we see Hugh McCluggage back very, very soon. But this game was the perfect box office Saturday night game to get us excited for more footy to come. But at the moment, this is game of the year, and it's going to be hard to beat. And now, for the final game Sunday night, and my personal favourite for the week, my Mighty Pies got up against the Moneyball Saints is what I was trying to say there. 9-12-66 defeated by 11-12-78. And this was another really good game, an intense finish. Pressure was everywhere, but the Pies were able to just hold on. Mitch Owens kicked 2. Sharman looked okay in patches, but dropped a fair few as well for the Saints, kicking 2. DeGoey looks fit, firing, powerful. He kicked 3 for the Pies. McCleary playing a bit more midfield time, looks explosive coming out of centre bounce, but then is also still impacting the scoreboard, kicking 2. Shooter Schultz, Lockie Schultz, just does what he does. Applies that pressure, that little annoying little defensive play down there, then hurts you back on the scoreboard, kicking 2, and also had 20 disposals to go along with it. Sinclair did his thing off the half back line for the Saints. He was phenomenal. 35 disposals, 94% efficiency, 21 kicks, 7 intercepts, and 560 metres gained. Marcus Winhager didn't tag Nick Dacos, instead has found a new role off the half-back line and also looked decent with 29, 11 marks. Flanders, 28, and Callum Wilkie, 26, going at 92% efficiency and 9 intercepts. Now, Nick Dacos. I know me personally and everyone gloats and talks and pumps up Nick Dacos. But it's hard not to when he puts performances on this, when he's being watched by Hugo Garcia, and he still manages to put performances like this. 41 disposals, 11 score runs, and 844 metres gained. He just took the absolute piss, and one of the best moments was that at half-back, the stoppage, evaded one tackle, spun around the other, then turned around and pulled an inside kick straight back into the middle ground, finding the teammate there in the middle of the ground, between the middle and centre half back. Was an absolutely phenomenal thing, and that just summed up Nick Dacos' night clean. He would have loved to add a goal to that, kicking 2 behinds, but he took the absolute piss, as did his brother, Josh. They combined for 77 disposals each. Josh had 36, going at 81% efficiency, 27 of them kicks, 13 marks, 9 rebound 50s, and 8 score moments. Dan Houston looks to be back a little bit better. Probably still needs to use the ball a little bit better, only going at 75% efficiency, I think it was 75, 76. 28 disposals, 11 marks, 10 rebound 50s, and 622 9 metres gained. But what we love to see, they are giving him the ball, and he is backing and using it and getting metres gained. Braden Maynard was also impressive, 27 disposals, 85% efficiency, 13 marks and 13 marks. Crisp played a bit more off half-back as well, 26, going 88% efficiency, 9 marks, 8 intercepts, and 8 score runners. And the veteran still well and truly has it. Scott Pennebury, 26 disposals, 81% efficiency, 5 goal assists, and 10 score runners. Now, Scott Pennebury spent the whole preseason training and playing at half-back. Spent the whole first 15 minutes of the first quarter on the bench, and then Fly brought him on and said, go forward. And he looked absolutely phenomenal. I'm loving, I hope they stick with the forward Pennebury, because I loved how, we always know how creative and calm he is under pressure, but I love that in the front half. He's creative, can hit targets, thinks his way through, glides out of congestion, doesn't panic, and just seems to find a way to find that perfect kick that most people aren't able to see. He has still got it, and I just can't get over it. So 5 direct goal assists is huge. And at 36 years of age, that is absolutely phenomenal. Is it 36? Am I right there and say he's 36, or he might even be 30? For those that can't see, I've just dropped my phone. He is 38. Forget the 36. He is 38 and pulling off tricks like that in the front half. He's going to 40. I'm calling it. Scott Pennebury plays until he is 40. He breaks the game record and plays until he's 40 years old if he's putting performances like that, semi-consistently like there. When we mentioned Nick Dacos being too good for the run with role Hugo Garcia had, on the other end, I put it on the agenda in the preview, was wanting to see how Nasiah Wanganeen-Milera, how Collingwood were going to play him and how he would play with someone close checking him. Now, I thought they were going to have someone run with him through the midfield and then hand him off to Braden Maynard when we went deep forward, because Braden Maynard would apply that body pressure, wouldn't be afraid to. But instead, Collingwood went with Harry Perriman. Harry Perriman played him for the midfield. Then when Nasiah Wanganeen-Milera pushed full forward out of the square like we saw in the preseason match, Harry Perriman went with him and had the body to work to be able to do him. Nas started off reasonably well. I believe he was the highest rated player on the ground in the first half. Don't know how. He only had 12 disposals and a goal, but it looked like he was just cashing in when he had the ball in hand. But Harry Perriman did an absolutely phenomenal job keeping him to 19 disposals and a goal. 7 in the second half and only 1 goal in the third, which is known as the premiership quarter. Massive tick to Harry Perriman. Back to the drawing board for Nas. One game, I get it. It is one game, but I mentioned this. As good as a player as Nasiah Wanganeen-Milera is and how much he dominated last year, we hadn't seen him with someone watching him carefully, applying body. And I was questioning to see, was he going to be able to do the same stuff in a contested environment with someone just on his tail? This is something he will need to work out because it's shown it works. So teams are going to plan around this. Now it is up to Nas, St Kilda and Ross Lyon to find a way to work around this, because it could quickly become a problem. While I think he can get them on the outside with his speed and his ball use and possibly push forward and get them there, it's in the contest is where I'm worried when players are putting body work on him where they can catch him off guard. But as I mentioned, Bo McCleary showed some spark through the middle with 16 disposals and 2 goals. Jack Silvani looked good in his first game for the Saints, 19 disposals and 9 intercepts. And Tom de Koning also showed glimpses what he can be, 17 hitouts and 20 disposals. But he was getting chop-outs from Rowan Marshall, and I thought they worked well in tandem. I mean, Darcy Cameron also had a good game too, 20-odd hitouts, I think 20 disposals and a goal. Let me just get that one up for you guys now so I can fact check that. We go down to the Pies. Yeah, 20 hitouts, 19 disposals, a goal, 6 tackles, 5 marks. So Rowan Marshall only had the 6 disposals and 8 hitouts, and they will be without him after he's had a concussion test. So that means TDK is going to have to run out the full game in the ruck. And we're yet to see that. Well, he played most of the game in there, and I'm really liking the look that he is. He's going to be a great asset to the team, but this will be the first time we probably see him without that designated ruck, someone who is going to be able to compete in the ruck, being able to be a backup for him there. It's probably, I'm thinking it's going to be Cooper Sharman. That's my guess. And then Tom de Koning will go. I don't even think they'll rest him forward. They'll just rest him on the bench with that 5th man on there. But it's going to be interesting how they play that one without Rowan Marshall there. Well, there you have it, guys. What a start to the AFL season with opening round. Some great games in footy, some smashing as well. We're starting to already see what some teams are going to be like, and some teams are going to need to respond big time in round 1, where all the teams, which is what it should be an opening round, but anyway, all the teams will be there playing the game, playing games. Everyone's going to be playing, which is what opening round should be in round 1. But that's going to wrap it up this episode, guide. If you're watching this on YouTube, please make sure to leave a like and comment on this video. Hit that notification bell and hit the subscribe button so you know. Here we go. I'm going to leave this in because we do make comments. Let's rewind that and try it again. It's a podcast, for God's sake. We don't only cut it out if it's a bad mistake. So let's rewind that. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure to leave a like and comment on this video, as the like and comments algorithm are going absolutely nuts and proving dividend to the views. So let's make sure we smash that. Hit that subscribe button as we race towards 400 subscribers, currently at 368. So we are building, and hit that notification bell so you're notified whenever we upload. But if you're the old school podcast listener and you're listening to this via audio and you're on Spotify, you're on Apple Podcasts, make sure to leave a like and comment on this video, on this episode, hit that follow button, turn notification bell on so you notify when we upload. Share this off to a mate who is absolutely so excited after getting that little teaser opening round with half the teams. Now the full team's coming into round one. Who's that mad friend that you know? Share this to him. And please, guys, remember, most importantly, to leave a 5-star rating on this show if you did enjoy this, because that does help push the show out there to new listeners. Thank you guys for listening and watching along. And until next time, I'll see you guys then.